Devori Darkin Show. And this is our first live going on Rumble and YouTube. So if you guys have been following us on YouTube a lot, very grateful to be able to partner with Rumble now to bring you guys the unfiltered, uncensored truth. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about Mayor Brandon Johnson just signing an executive order to, I would call it crime-free zones, in my opinion, or actually he's accepting crime in certain zones. That's really what's going on. A federal judge just blocked the Trump administration from deploying National Guard troops to not only just Oregon, but the entire country. And of course, Hakeem Jeffries and Speaker Johnson are still going at it over the government shutdown. So we'll get to all these stories in this video, show you what both sides are saying, and then give you the bottom line.
A federal judge ruling to block President Trump's National Guard deployment in Portland, despite, look at this, anti-ICE demonstrators wreaking havoc across that city.
I mean, just straight up anarchy. Mark Meredith is live from the White House with the details. Good morning, Mark.
Lawrence, Ainsley, and Brian, good morning once again. Friends, today we're watching to see if and when the White House will appeal this federal judge's ruling, which essentially is blocking the administration from sending National Guard troops to address what's going on in Portland, Oregon. This was a temporary ruling issued over the weekend by a judge who was appointed to the bench by President Trump. She blocked the president's efforts to use National Guard troops from Oregon, as well as those troops from Texas and California, Trump calling the situation in Portland unacceptable.
Portland is burning to the ground. You have agitators, insurrectionists. The governor, the mayor, the politicians are petrified for their lives. And you have a judge like that, that judge ought to be a king of them.
Okay, so the Trump administration is doing the right thing here because it's about cracking down on crime. And as usual, what do Democrats do in response? They run to the courts and they try to stop him from doing the right thing. And so this is no secret at this time. Every single day this continues to happen. And I don't think we're shocked that the judges finally got involved, but what I'm really shocked by is really, how did the judge not only block the Oregon National Guard troops from being deployed, but the judge blocked all National Guard troops from being deployed? So we're talking California National Guard troops and Texas. And just for the record, so for the people in the back, because I did serve in the military 13 years, U.S. Army, the president has the authority to deploy the National Guard when federal assets are being destroyed, vandalized, or under assault, and the local police department, they're not doing anything to stop it, and the FPS is overwhelmed. That's exactly what's happening. And so, of course, you're going to hear from mainstream media and Democrats that say, hey, you know what, that this isn't working, the Trump is going too far, et cetera, et cetera. Well, just understand something. The Trump administration is doing the right thing here, and he is following the law. So let's go to more on this story in Portland.
We know how the White House feels after posts from Stephen Miller, the White House senior staff, saying that there is no legal distinction between a state volunteering guardsmen to guard the border and volunteering guardsmen to guard a federal immigration facility. Either we have a federal government, a supremacy clause, and a nation, or we don't. We're also hearing from the governors involved in this, including California Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom, who said the court granted our request for a temporary restraining order halting any federalization, relocation, or deployment of any Guard members to Oregon from any state. Trump's abuse of power won't stand. There is one governor who is in favor of this, and that is Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, who said he had authorized the president to call up 400 members of the Texas National Guard to ensure safety for federal officials. Either you fully enforce protection for federal employees or you get out of the way and let Texas Guard do it.
Her first ruling on Saturday was that the Trump administration...
Okay, back to me. All right, so we're dealing with some live stream issues, guys, okay? Nobody's perfect. This is our first live stream. We will make mistakes, we will jack it up, and then we will master it. So as you guys probably first are witnessing my live stream for the very first time on Rumble, maybe you've never followed me, expect mistakes in the first week, okay? Just accept it, all right? Now, let's get back to what this story is truly all about. As you guys heard, this is just craziness, okay? The fact that these judges are getting involved at this level so quickly, you know what they call this? A judicial tyranny. That's exactly what's happening. I mean, how can you as a judge say that this isn't political? You see that Antifa has assaulted ICE detention facilities. You see that they're getting in fights with ICE officers. ICE have to protect themselves. They have to protect these vehicles. And the local PD, which is really fascinating, has nothing to say about it. And we're going to get to that shortly here. But first, I want to show you more on that particular story about how the local PD is or is not responding, but including what the Trump administration might do next. Take a look.
Her first ruling on Saturday was that the Trump administration could not deploy the Oregon National Guard to go to Portland. So then what the Trump administration tried to do was call in the National Guards of California and Texas and to send them to Oregon, but also some other cities as well. You mentioned Chicago. And that's when the judge essentially said, you know, I think you're trying to circumvent my order. That's what she said in a hearing last night when temporarily pausing those deployments of the National Guard. But I want to read to you what we heard from the statement, in a statement from Oregon's governor, because as you mentioned, they are pushing back heavily on this. He said, quote, "The rule of law must stand. This is not just about Oregon or a handful of states anymore. It's about the integrity of our democracy. President Trump's actions are an effort to occupy and incite cities and states that don't share his politics, and I believe that we should expect him to continue to push the limits of his authority."
Okay, you heard him. Push the limits of his authority. So let me get this straight, because you already know what they're going to say. The Supreme Court has enabled President Trump to exceed his authority as the I mean, how does that even make sense? He has the same authority as every other president, but you know what the difference is between President Trump and Biden? President Trump understands action. He understands results, outcomes, and he's going to do whatever is required to get the outcome that he ran on during his election campaign. That is the difference here. And Democrats, for all the talk, all the screaming, all the crying, they do a lot of that, but what they don't do is action. And here's the thing that the president is doing that is really profound. Whether you support him or not, doesn't matter. What matters is he is setting the example that for presidents who are going to come after him, they can no longer make excuses about saying what they can't do. When Biden said he couldn't secure the border, well, we just saw that go out the window. When they said, hey, we can't do much about crime, we just need more money, more of your tax dollars. Well, that's been proven to be wrong. I mean, we can go down the list about why politicians continue to say what they can't do, but the president has been able to do what he says he can do. And so I just think he's setting an example. And of course, that example is much more intelligent and mature, especially when you have to compare it to what Jasmine Crockett had to say in response to this order from this judge. Take a look.
Stop falling for the okie doke. Stop believing the lies that they are putting out there and the terrible racist tropes that they are constantly using to rile people up. It is time to recognize that while you thought the enemy was the immigrant, or you thought the enemy was the trans person, or you thought that the enemy was the black folk, or you thought the enemy were the women, when the reality is that the only person that is harming you right now, if you are struggling to make sure that you can pay your bills, if you're struggling to feed your family, if you are struggling to find a job, if you are struggling to keep your business open, or if you are a farmer, while we currently have record level bankruptcies by farmers, it is not any of those people on the list. It is the old white Nepo baby that is sitting in the White House that is causing all the destruction, pain, and problems that you are enduring.
How do you respond to people who think that way? You guys already know what I'm saying if you've been following me for quite some time. You don't. You cannot get people like that energy because they are low IQ. You know, I had a conversation with a family member. They're like, you know, don't you think what Trump is saying is wrong when he says that she's low IQ? She's actually low IQ based on the way that she's speaking. Now, listen, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I understand that. I don't have the best vocabulary. I stutter, stumble over my words all the time, mispronounce, and my wife always reminds me, by the way. But what you're not going to find me doing is saying crap like that about the president of the United States. I don't support Joe Biden when he was in president, no question. But I would never say Nepo baby, white supremacy, racist, etc. I mean, this is when you lose the argument, when you have to go into character assassination and start, you know, making slurs and slangs and all this other stuff. That means you have nothing really to say except low IQ statements. So that's who Jasmine Crockett is and who she's really been this entire time. And for the record, if you guys ever wonder why she does this, it's because this is what gets her attention. She believes speaking like this is going to get her the ability to keep her seat, even though we saw what happened with Texas, but also to keep her rising in the Democrat Party, because this is what they triple down on, that type of rhetoric. So I guess it is a race to see who can say the most ignorant things on the planet, and I think Democrats come in first. Now, let's continue this. Here is Tricia McLaughlin from Department of Homeland Security and what she had to say about this order. Take a listen.
These leaders, or these lack of leaders, are aiding and abetting domestic terrorists who are attacking law enforcement and attacking the public. We just saw over the weekend one journalist was jumped and subsequently arrested by the local police department there for simply defending himself. We saw another female journalist who was again attacked and punched in the eye by a mob. When does the police department, when do these leaders actually step in and get this chaos and violence out of control? President Trump has shown real leadership to surge resources here. We will continue to do that. But I think he's also going to be looking at funding. If these leaders are going to be aiding and abetting domestic terrorists, should we really be sending public funds there? That's a real question.
We want to get to.
Okay. And that strategy that you just heard from Tricia McLaughlin is, in my opinion, a smart one. Because, see, you can go in front of a camera and say whatever you want to say, but at the end of the day, I think policy and these decisions that can be made legally are really going to apply the leverage needed to do something about what's happening. What does that mean? When the Trump administration says, hey, we are going to freeze or claw back or reject funding from the federal government to these states, they have a right to do so. Supreme Court already ruled on that, by the way. And it's a smart one, because when you start talking about people's money, they start paying attention. Now, the unfortunate part about that is Democrats, again, are ran by people who are choosing to be ignorant or choosing to be overly emotional or act like children. So they're not going to respond accordingly to that type of leverage. They'll just keep fighting. And the only people that get hurt in this entire process are the people they say they're trying to protect. They're saying they're trying to fight for the American worker. That's not what they're doing. They're fighting against President Trump. That takes priority than the American worker, if they ever get around to doing that, because we know they haven't been obsessed with doing that since he stepped on the scene. That is President Trump. Now, I guess the question at this point, who believes that President Trump is going to win this legal battle? Now, I'm of that belief. I think he will, because he's won most of them. I don't see anything here that, and by the way, I'm not a legal expert, but if we're just taking results so far and what we do understand about the president's authority to deploy the National Guard, I'm not seeing why he loses here. However, if you go to Newsmax and listen to their legal analysts, they say he is going to lose. Take a listen.
Of course, the Trump administration is going to appeal this. They'll probably lose on appeal. What the judge wrote, a conservative Republican judge, is what we call standard black letter law. Public safety is an issue for the states. There's no crisis of public safety in Oregon. She held a hearing, and that's what she concluded at the end of the hearing.
But when we look at pictures like this, I mean, again, we have talked about this a lot. There's a difference between doing traffic stops, answering 911 calls, chasing drunk drivers, and protecting federal assets, federal buildings, and federal employees from what we saw in the pictures right there. But she's saying they can't, that the president can't do it.
She held a hearing and examined evidence from both sides, and at the end of which she concluded there were never more than 30 persons demonstrating at any federal building, and all they were doing was expressing their freedom of speech, which is protected under the First Amendment. There's no need for federal military to be there to intimidate them. She made the point. This is not just a 10th Amendment issue of powers that the states never delegated away. It's a First Amendment issue that in the face of armed military officers with automatic weapons in their hands, people would hesitate to express their free speech. That's the second part of her ruling.
It's going to be very interesting where this goes next.
Yeah, well, it'll go to the Ninth Circuit, where she will probably be affirmed, and then eventually to the Supreme Court.
Okay. Again, he's a legal expert. He's a judge, or was a judge, etc. But I will just say this. What is his response to when people in Portland, I shouldn't even say people, these radical left lunatics who are violent in these far left groups, also known as Antifa, who only have one mission in mind, which is to destroy this country, really. When they start attacking ICE officers, ICE vehicles, and the ICE detention facility, which also includes other locations in this country where even a migrant was killed in the process, where someone shot up an ICE detention facility in Dallas. So what then? If the police is receiving stand down orders, they've been instructed not to respond, what then? So I guess people are supposed to be killed. Is that what you're saying? I don't think the Supreme Court's going to rule in that way, in my opinion, okay? I just don't see how that is happening. So that obviously takes us to what Elon Musk here put up. And this wasn't yesterday. This is something that he put up during where every single day a judge was issuing an order against President Trump earlier this year. He says that if any judge anywhere can block every presidential order everywhere, we do not have a democracy. We have a tyranny of the judiciary, okay? That's exactly what's happening here. And the unfortunate part is if you have Trump derangement syndrome, you're not listening to any of that, okay? So as you guys know, for the people who've been following me for quite some time, my goal is to speak to the 2%, the independents who sometimes are getting caught in this propaganda and a lot of noise and showing you both sides so you could think for yourself. There's no question people who support Trump, I don't have to tell you anything. You already know what it is. The people who don't support Trump, there's no reason for me to talk to you because you're not going to listen. But there are people out there that do want to listen. They want to hear someone tell them what both sides are saying, and they want to make up their own mind and not be told what to think. And so that's why I say if someone is attacking a federal building, you don't believe the president has the authority to protect that building? Okay, I think I'm done. I'm beating a dead horse at this point. Okay, let's actually see what you guys have to say in the chat feed here. We've got 30 Antifa can do a lot of damage that 30 cops cannot repel. You need overwhelming numbers. Exactly. Can't stop the movement of feds taking back our streets to stop crime, etc. The troops will be in place to mitigate attacks from the inside. Exactly. Judge has zero authority in these matters. Why pay attention to them? Yeah, that's a very good point. And let me just say why we have to pay attention to them. Because we have to instruct the public about what's taking place. Because if I don't do it and other people don't do it, mainstream media won't do it. Mainstream media will have people believing that everything that the president is doing is illegal, and it's not. It just isn't, okay? Now, before we move any further, I do want to give a little shout out here. If we scroll up on that chat, let me see here. Let me scroll up here for myself. I just want to, because somebody actually donated. And while I'm looking this up to shout this person out, I definitely want to give you guys here we go. 100, chilling, doing good. Thank you. I don't want to butcher it, but Shippo Shadow. Thank you for your donation there for the show. So this is a good time, and then I'll get back to the chat. Guys, we've been at this show for over a year now, and been very blessed to be able to do this, of course. Very blessed to start this live show with a partnership with Rumble. Very grateful. If you're new here, the purpose of this show, just so you understand and why you should come back and why you should share and subscribe, no matter what platform you're on here, is that I want to make sure that you get a common sense perspective about what's happening in these top stories. No spin. I don't have an agenda. I'm not in the business of working on the fringes. I'm not in the business of giving you an overly emotional take. I'm not into that stuff. I'm just into encouraging you to get back to thinking for yourself, because that's exactly what has gone wrong with our country is people no longer think, okay? Let alone about the news. They're not really thinking about what's being said. And because they don't think, they get, consumed with propaganda, and you know it. You have friends and family who walk up to you, I'm sure, every day and are like, hey, did you know that Trump did this? And you're like, what? What are you talking about? It's because they're not doing any research. They're not seeing what both sides are saying. And of course, they're not really, aware of the tactics from mainstream media. So we're always going to expose it, and that is the purpose. Okay. So now that we know that, let's hear this message from today's sponsor. All right, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but this is a huge announcement. So Trump Media Group partnered with Crypto.com in a $6.4 billion deal.
Why is this so important? Well, in case you didn't know, I have a crypto.com account and I invested in the Trump meme coin earlier this year and I was successful. Okay. And so when I heard about this news of Trump Media Group partnering with crypto.com to establish the first American crypto treasury, I knew I had to be somewhat involved and figure out more information and then share it with you guys. See, you don't have to technically be an expert when it comes to crypto to participate in things like this. You just have to be aware, and you should probably have an account with crypto.com because understand something.
All right. That's crypto.com. Again, if you guys haven't been able to check it out for yourself, I think you guys should. A lot of stuff is going on right now with the Trump administration and crypto.com. Again, they have this huge $1 billion partnership. And I'm not, some crypto expert on everything, but I do hold a lot of crypto. And it's in crypto.com. And I believe this is the only administration that has actually put crypto in a legitimate way for the public to benefit. So again, if you haven't tried it for yourself, check out crypto.com. All right, so now we're on to our next story. And we're going to kind of speed things up here. So the Chicago mayor has come out today, this morning, and he has one mission in mind: continue to do things that puts his residents in harm's way, right? He is fighting more for illegal aliens. He is fighting more for criminals than he is for the people he says that he cares about. And those people, for the most part, are black people, by the way, and I'm going to get to that here shortly. But let's just hear, actually, hold on. Let's see here. I want to make sure I'm on the right track here. There we go. All right. Yeah. Let's hear this clip from him signing this executive order.
They are taking police resources that should be in our neighborhoods, serving Chicagoans and diverting them to deal with the chaos that they are causing. We need ICE out of our city. They told us that this was about the worst of the worst. In reality, they are going after anyone who objects to families being ripped apart and community members being disappeared. ICE lies and people die. We cannot allow this to continue. We must take action more drastic than what we have taken before, because what we are seeing is a more radical attempt to undermine our democracy. And today we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids.
All right, so this is ratcheting up, and both sides using whatever legal leverage they think that they have. The White House administration maintains that they have the supremacy clause, and that if they're enforcing immigration law, that's what the law says.
Yeah, two hot spots at the moment. Portland is one, Chicago's the other. It really seems like you get the feeling of a slow boil.
Yeah.
Right? It just builds day after day and week after week after week.
Okay. Listen, let's just set the record straight. This is not ICE-free zones. This is, I'm going to allow crime to go rampant in these zones. That's what's really going on here. Listen, we know Chicago has a crime problem. I know it. You know it. Your mom knows it. Your grandchildren will know it. Okay. I mean, it's no secret. And I say this all the time for the people who've been following me for quite some time. I am so disgusted at the fact that this black mayor who says he cares about black lives and wants to protect black children is doing everything he can to continue to put black people in harm's way by not doing anything about crime and rejecting the help from the president. Now, who knew that a state, particularly a city, would reject help from the federal government when it comes to an issue that they're weak on? You know who would do things like that? People who are filled with evil, okay? That's what's going on here, all right? That's the only way to explain it. No rational person with intelligence would say things like that. He's doing it because, one, evil's in charge of him. That's why he has the lowest approval rating, no question. But two, this is who the Democrat Party has become, unfortunately. Now, let's hear more about Chicago. Take a look.
300 Illinois National Guardsmen have now been called up for a 2-month deployment to Chicago. What you're looking at right now is video of the scene that triggered that particular radio call. Tear gas and pepper balls were deployed into the crowd after agents said they were attacked. But meantime, as I just mentioned, 300 Illinois National Guardsmen have been called up for a 2-month deployment to Chicago to protect federal personnel and property. Also, Texas National Guardsmen, 400 of them, have been called up for deployment to both Illinois, to Portland, and an undetermined location.
Yeah. And that's why Oregon has already gotten ahead of it. That judge blocked the Trump administration from deploying those troops over there, but that has not happened in that state where Chicago is located. And again, for the life of me, as I told you guys about the black on black crime, as you guys know, no secret about that, the black people of Chicago. And by the way, we've seen the clips of these people in Chicago screaming at that mayor. So there's that, of course. But secondly, if you guys are thinking about what will these National Guard troops do, because one talking point you're going to hear from people like MSDNC and CNN and Trump deranged media pundits is that, well, the National Guard troops are not trained to do X, Y, or Z. You know, the only people who say what the military isn't trained on are people who never served in the military. And if you find people who did serve in the military saying something like that, I guarantee they have Trump derangement syndrome. They have to say that, okay? We have to understand, National Guard in particular is trained on riot control, especially the infantry units. How do I know? Because I served in one, okay? We were issued riot gear. We went through the training. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to be doing riot control. But when you're talking about 200, 300 National Guard troops, you're talking about these support roles, admin roles, things where they can plug in the actual gaps that the local PD cannot adhere to, or even these ICE officials. And then you're talking about people on the actual property assisting ICE in making sure that the property is secure. Now, listen, if you're in control of your faculties, everything I just said makes sense. But if you're not, you're probably saying otherwise. Now, to back up that statement about how evil Mayor Brandon Johnson is, here is Fox News talking about how he did order the local police department not to respond to these violent attacks against ICE officers and at the ICE detention facilities. Take a look.
In Chicago, sources telling Fox News police there were told to actually stand down on helping ICE agents who are in danger. Mike Tobin has this story for us, all the details. Hi, Mike.
And Dana, we've got a lot of rank-and-file Chicago police officers behind the scenes telling us that they are outraged that the stand-down order went out to them after federal agents were attacked. The order appears to have come through a communication from the chief of patrol over the communication through the Office of Emergency Management and Communication, reading, "No units will respond to this." Multiple police sources have confirmed to us the message is authentic, and it is backed up by audio of the stand-down order.
And again, per the chief of patrol, we have all the units that per 999, chief of patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location. All right, and 999, just to confirm, 39th Police in Kedzie, they were saying that they were being surrounded by that large crowd, and they were requesting the police were not sending. I'm waving off all the cars heading to 39th Police in Kedzie.
Again, those are the orders we're being given.
Confirm the reports that Chicago police were ordered to stand down.
Okay, we will get to what Mayor Brandon Johnson had to say in response to that. But let me just say this. So that dispatch recording, we actually talked about that yesterday. That was in regards to that unhinged criminal lady who had a semi-automatic weapon in her vehicle with an accomplice ramming ICE officers off the road. If I just stop right there, that already sounds like we have a problem, ladies and gentlemen. But according to Democrats, there's no issue here. Chicago is just fine. We don't need the federal government's help. That just does not pass the common sense test. And I just want to say this, okay? In case there are some people that are still on the fence, and I'm assuming you're going to share this live stream with some of your friends and family, right? People who might disagree with you.
Why won't the mayor just hand over the worst of the worst to ICE? Why won't they do that? That is the number one question you should always ask someone who's trying to argue with you over this stuff. Hey, I understand what you're trying to say. I understand that you disagree with what the president is doing, but let me just ask you this question. Why hasn't the mayor handed over criminals, pedophiles, rapists, drug dealers, etc., the whole gamut? Why are they refusing to hand them over to ICE officers? It's a phenomenal question. I bet you're going to get the deer in the headlight look, because it just doesn't make any sense. If they were handing them over, then why would ICE need and National Guard troops need to go to Chicago in this way? Would you really be having all these riots? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That's the way that I see it. But let's get to what this evil individual, Mayor Brandon Johnson, had to say. Take a listen.
From the reports that Chicago police were ordered to stand down when ICE agents were surrounded and rammed by cars. And do you want Chicago police not to help ICE agents?
Our police officers respond to every single emergency in this city. The brave women and men who sign up to serve and protect this city are committed to keeping us safe. And what we have made very clear is through our welcoming city ordinance, when it comes to civil immigration enforcement, absent a warrant, our police department will not dub as federal ICE agents. In fact, we believe it's antithetical to driving violence down in the city of Chicago. When people call 911, we do not ask what their immigration status is, right? And so our police department will respond to every incident in which their services are needed to keep people safe, protecting the fundamental right to be able to protest, ensuring the maximum safety of our residents. That is the top priority of our administration.
Can you confirm, though, were Chicago police told to stand down?
What I can confirm is that our police department responds to every single 911 call. When 911 is called and there's an emergency, our police department shows up, as they've always done.
Oh man, this guy, he's something else. Okay, listen, my wife just sent this to me. I want to share it with you guys. Mayor Brandon Johnson lost $734 million for the school system, and the school systems might be having budget problems next year, which will lead to some closures because they want to fund illegal aliens. And I've gone through these numbers already. Chicago spends more money on illegal immigration than they do on their police department, on their veterans, on their education. Look it up for yourself. I couldn't believe it. It's fascinating. Last time I looked, it was $2 billion on illegal immigration. Imagine what they could do with $2 billion for their education system. Imagine what they could do with $2 billion if they spent half of that with their police department. And they're crying about, well, the federal government doesn't want to give us resources. Sure. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is take a look at this poll from CNN, because you know they got to get in on the fun of trying to undermine the president of the United States. But I want to respond to it. So this is a poll about how do Americans feel about what the president is doing in regards to the National Guard troops. And I think you guys already know how this is going to go. Take a look.
What's public opinion saying right now about the use of National Guard troops, the deployment into cities?
Yeah, it's a political loser, John. It's a political loser. Donald Trump may think it's a political winner, but it's a political loser. Opposed Trump deploying in a U.S. city, active duty U.S. military, 61%. The National Guard in particular, 58%. When you get 3 in 5 Americans agreeing on anything, you know if that is on the opposition side, it's a political loser. And among independents, who are, of course, that key block in the middle of the United States political electorate, we're talking about 2/3 of independents there and about who oppose the deployment of either active duty U.S. military or National Guard into U.S. cities.
What are the questions that people are asking, or what are the issues they see with these deployments?
Okay, look, I think it's that they don't buy Donald Trump's case for why these troops must go into the U.S. cities. So the New York Times essentially gave you a two-pronged little answer here, right? Trump may use the National Guard to intimidate rivals, or big city crime will spiral out of control if the troops don't go into cities. What you see here is the majority that takes the case is that Trump may use the National Guard to intimidate political rivals at 51%. Just 42% of Americans agree with the Donald Trump stance that, in fact, big city crime will spiral out of control if the National Guard doesn't go into U.S. cities. So essentially what we're seeing here is Donald Trump's making a case, the Democratic opposition's making another case, and the Democratic opposition's case is winning here, and that is a big reason why what you see is you get about 3 in 5 Americans saying they don't want troops going into U.S. cities.
Okay, 3 out of 5. So here's a question for you guys right now. Put it in the chat box. How many of you guys agree with what the president is doing? If you agree, put I agree. If you don't, put I don't, okay? I want to see them. I want to see how many people we got who are agreeing with what the president is doing here. Listen, I agree with what the president is doing, just as a side note for my own personal opinion. I don't expect you to believe what I believe, but I do want to say this. Why don't they run a poll that says, do you oppose Antifa and far left groups attacking ICE officers and the local police are being told not to respond? Okay, they can make that question a little shorter, but I think you guys know where I'm going. Please show us the poll on that. I bet you're going to probably have 4 out of 5 Americans. You see, that's why we want to show you both sides. Because one side says, hey, well, a lot of Americans don't agree with this, but I guarantee they don't agree with ICE officers being fatally attacked and shot at and vandalized. I bet they don't agree with that either. See, it's the same thing with these polls overall. They come out and they say, well, the president has a terrible approval rating. Okay, compared to what? Compared to Republicans? He's got a great approval rating. Compared to Democrats, he has a perfect approval rating, because Democrats' approval rating, I mean, they're lower. We can go all day with that. So I think the point is here that the American people, it's the same story every time. When they see something that is dramatic, they have an emotional reaction to it. And then we have to look at the crosstabs of this poll. So, and I think we did the other day, by the way, which it was like 58% were women. I think they're referencing that poll. And so I just think that when you're seeing dramatic things on social media and mainstream media, it's easy to have this reaction. All right, let's go ahead and skip ahead and get this other reaction from Fox News in regards to everything. Take a look.
Whatever they can use is a distraction from their failures. Keep in mind, Brandon Johnson has an approval rating of about 5%, the lowest rated mayor in the history of the city of Chicago. He has continuously failed on this issue. So whatever cover they can use, they will use. We have, as of estimates, almost 500,000 undocumented people in the state of Illinois. There's a lot of work to be done, and I want to congratulate Todd Lyons, the ICE acting director, for being so surgical with sending teams in, and certainly keeping Americans informed as to what ICE is experiencing on the ground. These things matter. They very much matter. And the people of Chicago are happy to see those who came into their city and committed crime against the citizens there, to see them leave. That's what we should all want as Americans. We want safe cities. We want safe streets. We want our kids to be able to go to school without the fear of coming back in a body bag. And that's what we've seen too many times in the city of Chicago.
Yeah. Same old story. Same old story. Let's get to the chat feed. I'd like to see what's going on and see what you guys have to say here. I'll take over. All right. Let's see here. Mexican Trumper, thank you so much. Let's see what else we got. Let me catch up with you guys, actually. Let's scroll all the way down here. See what's going on here. All sane people who love their country believes in President Trump. I totally agree. I totally agree. Dems approvals get to 32, 33%, and then they stop reporting on it. That's exactly right. Trump needs to do what he is allowed to do and disregard any judge's unlawful orders. Okay. The point is, the internet is lawless, and family does not fund filter DC since 63 for all for cash and order, not genocide since 2017. Okay. Yeah. So listen. I think the point here, guys, and I didn't see your guys' answers. Do you guys agree with the president sending National Guard troops in? Here we go. Here we go. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, Chicago definitely spending on illegals, setting up camps and permanent structures. Yeah, arrest Mayor Johnson for not providing federal agents backup when called upon. I totally agree. Yep. Okay. All right, so let's go to our next story here. And by the way, again, if you guys are following us for the very first time, we are streaming live on Rumble Monday through Friday and YouTube Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you did get any value from today's live stream as a new viewer, please do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe. In the description below, you'll find an opportunity to shop our merch store where you can find some shirts that just might offend some people, including coffee mugs, etc. But more importantly, I don't need your money. I want your attention. I want to be able to help you continue to critically think for yourself. I want to affirm that you are doing the right thing by wanting to see what both sides are saying and making up your own mind, okay? And you do that by continuing to watch our show. So thank you so much for checking us out today. Now, let's get to this next story, which is about the government shutdown. And what we're really talking about here is this letter that Hakeem Jeffries has sent to Speaker Johnson. He wants to debate him, okay? And first, where we're going to start is hearing from Speaker Johnson. So we're going to skip ahead here. And what he had to say about this letter. Take a look.
Yes, sir, because you're standing up. Go ahead.
Jeffries just challenged you to debate on the House floor today. Do you see yourself debating him, or would you be
When the poll says that about 13% of the people approve of your messaging, then you make desperate pleas for attention, and that's what Hakeem Jeffries has done. Look, my friend Hakeem had his shot. We debated all this on the House floor, as you know, before we passed our bill. He spoke for 7 or 8 minutes. He had all of his colleagues lined up. They gave it their best shot, and they argued, and they stomped their feet and screamed at us and all that. And still, we passed the bill in bipartisan fashion and sent it over to the Senate. The House has done its job. I'm not going to let Hakeem try to pretend for these theatrics. I mean, this is a Chuck Schumer decision. The ball is in the Senate's court now. The House has done this. We don't need to waste time on that nonsense. Those debates have been had. Colleague's a friend. I mean, Hakeem is a friend and a colleague. I respect him, but we all know what he's trying to do there. Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So it's more shenanigans, as they would call them, in regards to what's happening on Capitol Hill. Again, I don't trust any of these people. I don't trust Speaker Johnson. I don't trust Republicans. I definitely don't trust Democrats. The only thing I will ever respond to and acknowledge are results. Okay. And the president is moving at a lightning speed than Congress. We know that. And then everybody says, well, this is the way Congress was designed, was to move slowly. Listen, we're living in the year of 2025. They need to speed up and get stuff done. That's the bottom line to it. And Democrats are going to try to do whatever they can to stop that from happening. And as we talked about yesterday, Democrats are making a terrible mistake because they're trying to use these ACA subsidies as a way to weaponize this government shutdown. The problem is the timing is wrong on that. They should get the government back open and then debate over that, okay? But to not have the government open because you want to debate on that first, that's just a terrible move from them. But I don't think they can actually help it, okay? Now let's go to what the president had to say earlier this morning to this nonsense.
Begin firing federal employees during this government shutdown.
That's taking place right now, and it's all because of the Democrats. The Democrats are causing the loss of a lot of jobs with their it's a shutdown. It's their shutdown, not our shutdown. It's their shutdown.
Here's what the Republican argument is. They passed.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, so again, the president is just confirming it. The last shutdown, in case you guys didn't know, that was the longest, happened under the first Trump administration. I think it was 38 days total. So I guess the question is, how long do you guys believe this government shutdown will go on for? Do you believe it's going to be 1 more week, 2 more weeks? Do you think it will go past 30 days? Let me know what you guys think about that. So far, we're on day 6, I believe it is. So we'll see how long it goes. I'm of the opinion that given how divisive politics is now and how Chuck Schumer has backed himself in a corner, I don't see it happening anytime soon. And those Democrats that did vote in the Senate with Republicans to keep the government open, they've already flipped back. So they've already made their voices known that they will not vote again in that way. So we'll see what happens there. But as usual, people say what they say, but it doesn't mean they're going to do what they're going to do. And so this takes us to Senator John Kennedy, because I think he sums it up very nicely about what's happening here. Take a listen.
Here's what the Republican argument is. They passed a clean bill in the House. You simply had to do it in the Senate. That did not happen. The health insurance changes that Democrats want, if there are no changes, you have until the end of December to go ahead and negotiate these back and forth. And the Senate Democrats have voted 13 times for a continuing resolution to keep the government operating.
Yes.
What am I missing?
You're not missing anything. This is I know it looks complicated, but it's not. Last Tuesday, the country was rocking along, minding its own business. Our budget ended at midnight. A few weeks before we'd gone to our Democratic friends, said, let's vote to keep it open for about 6 weeks. They said, no, we won't do it. We'll shut it down unless you give us $1.5 trillion. And we said, well, that's not going to happen. That'll happen when donkeys fly. You know that. So they keep voting no to open it up. All we're saying is open it up, no strings attached, so we can continue to negotiate. And they say not until you give us $1.5 trillion, which we're not going to do. And that's what's going on.
There you go. That's why I said I don't trust any of them, especially financially. What they've done to this country is anybody else in a private company would have been fired times 10 already, probably even sued and sent to prison. They have committed malpractice every step of the way with the spending when it comes to the government, where our tax dollars are going. This is why I'm really huge on America First. I can care less what's going on in the rest of this world. I care about what's happening here. What is going on with our veterans? What's going on with the crime in our neighborhoods? What's going on with the education system, wanting to cut off body parts and teach our kids that men can be women and men can give birth and all this other evilness? That's what we should be focusing on. But as you guys know, Congress can't help themselves. It's a walking hypocrisy and, conflict of interest. They will eat. They will feed their pockets because they just can't help it. I think it takes a certain type of person to serve in Congress, in my opinion. But as we get to the end of this show, you could bring the chat feed up for people so I can read some comments here. I want to say this. We live in a time today where it's not only information warfare, but there's a spiritual war that is taking place. There's no question that the devil has hijacked the Democrat Party. Why is that so true? Because everything that is coming out of the mouth of President Trump, not his mean tweets for the people who are sensitive, but his policy, stances, and rhetoric is exactly what Hillary Clinton was saying in the 90s, Bill Clinton was saying, Nancy Pelosi was saying, Chuck Schumer was saying. So what changed? That's a very good question to ask. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm of the opinion that the party has been hijacked by these destructive ideas. And if I had to oversimplify it, I would just say it's like attending high school all over again. Everything they do, they have to react to what the president is doing or saying. And so it just sends them into a position where they cannot think or articulate or come up with solutions. They're not proactive, they're reactive. And that means that they continue to crap on their constituents because they're not doing anything for them. They're only fighting the president. And it makes sense for their constituents. You know why? Because they have programmed their constituents to see things that way. They say that the president is Hitler and a white supremacist. And so our only course of action is the judicial tyranny, or we take to the streets and get violent. That's it. That's all they got. They will not debate these ideas. Hakeem Jeffries cannot debate Speaker Johnson right now. He's going to get into a bunch of racial stuff. That's not a debate, okay? That's social justice, woke ideology, emotional stuff. That's what that is. All right, chats. Let's see what we got here. Their poll is flawed. They ask questions that does not apply to the situation. Exactly. I totally agree with that. Let's see here. Let's scroll down here. Keep the government closed. Yeah, I agree with you. Well, I think we should open the government. I just think that Democrats should stop wanting the government to be closed based on their ridiculous technique regarding the ACA subsidies. Insurrection Act,
Seems like it. Seems like it. I mean, think about it. When ICE officers are protecting citizens and not the local police department, I think we have a problem, right? 97% of Capitol Hill is deep state or controlled by the deep state. I agree with that. Let's see here. The Uniparty has been bought and sold out for our country. Definitely agree with that. Let's see here. What else we got? Yeah. Donald Trump exposed the two-stepping of both parties and is ending their grift. Yeah. You know, you don't have to be a political strategist or have served in Congress to see what's going on here. You don't even have to be a psychologist, okay? This is classical human behavior. What happens when someone shows up on the scene, gets the attention of most of America, and is an outsider, not one of you? You already are going to be salty about it. You already are going to envy him. You're already going to be jealous. And the problem is that jealousy, that envy turned into hate. And it has poisoned the Democrat Party, and it has run its course to this certain point. I mean, think about it. What type of party would run Kamala Harris as their presidential candidate? A party that does not think for themselves, a party that is not in touch with reality. What type of party actually tolerates a president who is cognitively impaired and says he wants to run again? What type of party encourages the president of the United States to try to change Title IX language to let men play in women's sports? What type of party tries to manipulate the language from the medical industry to manipulate parents into believing that, yes, their child can be another gender, and yes, it's okay to cut off their body parts, and by the way, you must give them these puberty blockers? That's a party of evilness, ladies and gentlemen. That's what that is. You may not agree with Republicans, and I don't really agree with Republicans on a lot of things either. But I'm still going to read the chat here. But what I don't agree with is the evilness. That's just something we cannot tolerate. We just can't do it. It just does not make any sense whatsoever. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Local Democrat mayors hate the people. That is correct. Let's see here. As usual, Congress has failed the American people and are only trying to push their agenda and not the agenda of the American people. God bless the Lord for the work he is doing to get good info out to us. Yes, and God bless you guys for watching today. And that takes us to the last few minutes. Guys, we're going to be going live Monday through Friday moving forward. Rumble and YouTube, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. This is new. We probably made some mistakes here today. It's okay. We all make mistakes on something that is our first time around, but I'll tell you what, we will be a master at this. And this live stream and our show will continue to bring people the truth every single day, and I believe that God put me in this position to make that happen. Because a lot of people do not want to hear someone tell them what to think. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to show you guys what both sides are saying. I'm here to help you critically think for yourself. And there are times that we don't agree with what the president is saying or doing. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to take President Trump 99.9% of the time over whatever Democrats are offering, because the only thing they're offering is what? Insurrection, obstruction, okay, lawlessness, evilness, okay, racial justice, woke ideology nonsense, divisiveness. This is what they offer. That is exactly what they're offering the American people, and that's why they're going to continue to lose, because I don't think American people recognize that type of language. Why is it? Because it's negative. No one wants to hear someone speak negatively all day long. No one likes that. Okay, and that's why the president's message, although there is some divisive rhetoric from him, it's wrapped up in something called optimism. Make America great again. Well, when was America great? America's been great ever since day one. What are you talking about? We continue to evolve. Every single generation, we evolve. We accomplish great things. You don't think what Elon Musk has done with SpaceX and Starlink and et cetera is that isn't great? I'm not understanding. Okay. Our ability with these tech platforms to be able to communicate, and obviously X for us to see the unfiltered truth, and of course Rumble, right? We have a platform that isn't looking to censor you. I would say that's great. I don't have anybody on my neck oppressing me as a black person in this country. This is the greatest time to be alive, in my opinion. No moment in time has it ever been easier to change your financial situation, to change the quality of your life than it is today. No one's stopping you except yourself. Or, I guess you can add on to that, mainstream media and Democrats who continue to pump propaganda into their base that makes them believe that living in a state of depression and attacking ICE officers are the right way to go. So, let me know in the comments section, what do you guys make of what the mayor did today by announcing ICE-free zones, which I don't think is going to go anywhere. Secondly, what do you guys make of the Supreme Court in Oregon blocking the Trump administration from deploying National Guard troops, and a lower court judge blocking him also from deploying California and Texas National Guard troops? Let me know what you guys think about that. And overall, question for you here is, what should happen to these local leaders when ICE officers are attacked? Should they be held accountable? Let me know about that and put everything you got in the comment section below. So this is now taking us to the end of our first live stream, guys. Yes, we were late. Yes, we made some mistakes, but we started it, we finished it, we got it done, and we'll be back tomorrow better than we were today, seeking to give you guys both sides of what's happening in our country. God bless you. Thank you so much for checking us out today. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and take care. Thank you.